The ice sculpture was melting. That's the first thing Lena noticed, an eagle carved out of $10,000 blocks of frozen water, now dripping slowly onto a star-spangled buffet table lined with shrimp towers and whiskey-glazed pork medallions. It wasn't the heat. It was the chairman's breath, boozy, pompous, and thick with the kind of corporate rot that festers behind framed mission statements. He clinked his glass, stumbled forward in his Cole Haan loafers, and belted out the toast that would ruin him. To progress, he slurred, eyes half-lidded, and to trimming the fat so we can finally hire less, World War Roman II and more Gen Z. You know, less VFW, more NFT. The laughter wasn't loud, it was polite, just enough to prove allegiance, just enough to not get tagged as difficult. Lena didn't laugh. She froze, fork halfway to her mouth, her wine sweating untouched. She watched the ripple of chuckles bob across the room of golf bros and polished donors, watched someone nudge her own boss with a snort, whispering something about AI interns outperforming PTSD cases. She didn't flinch, didn't make a scene. She did what 15 years in public affairs had taught her to do. She smiled like a porcelain doll and opened her phone under the table. Hit record. Zoomed in. Captured it all. Across from her, one of the guests wore a hat with his old Navy patch. Another had his bronze star pinned to his lapel like a conversation starter. Lena stared at those medals and thought of Jeff, her late husband. Gone 7 years, buried with honors in Section 60, still listed as KIA in company newsletters like he was a stat. That man's blood bought the contracts this chairman now toasted over crab cakes and contempt. By the way, real quick, before we go full scorched earth, 97% of folks listening to these stories never hit that subscribe button. I know, you're multitasking, folding laundry, rage scrolling through Facebook, arguing with your cat about politics. But every sub helps keep these stories alive and seriously motivates the team to dig even deeper. So if you like takedowns served slow and cold, smash that button like it's your boss's ego at a gala. Back to Lena. She excused herself shortly after the toast. She had a migraine. The chairman waved her off like she was an extra in his biopic. Take some ibuprofen, soldier. He barked, laughing at his own joke like it was the Gettysburg Address. She walked past the valet stand, heels clicking like war drums, and sat in her rental SUV until her hands stopped shaking. Played the clip again, and once more just to make sure she didn't hallucinate it. Trim the fat, less VFW, more TikTok. This was a defense contractor whose entire brand wrapped itself in the flag like a toga at a frat party. She'd helped write those taglines. Innovation through service. Integrity. Legacy. Mission. Hell, she was the one who suggested printing memorial photos on the back of their holiday cards. And now here she was, just another widow on the wrong end of a budget meeting. At home, she poured herself a neat bourbon, didn't even bother with dinner. Her inbox was already full of great seeing you. Emails from gala guests. Hollow smiles and bullshit subject lines. But Lena wasn't sleeping tonight, she had a war to plan. The bourbon bottle was still sweating on the counter. Half the glass gone, untouched ice swirling like the ghost of a plan not yet born. Lena stood barefoot in her kitchen, hair tied up in a makeshift knot, hoodie zipped to her throat like armor. The clock blinked 2:37 a.m. Her house was silent, eerily so. No hum of HVAC, no fridge kicking in. Just the dim blue light from her phone screen and the sound of the chairman's voice playing on loop like a cursed nursery rhyme. Trim the fat, click more TikTok, less VFW, click AI doesn't take sick leave. Click each replay was a slap. A fresh slap. Lena stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the playback bar like it was the trigger of a gun she hadn't decided to use yet. She could have let it go, chalked it up to liquor and ego. HR would have buried it in a folder marked conduct resolved. Maybe an apology email 2 weeks later, all lowercase, I regret the tone. She could have let it rot quietly in the back of her brain like so many other slights. The time they skipped her for promotion because clients respond better to younger faces, the side eyes when she wore Jeff's dog tags under her blouse at corporate events. But then, out of habit or divine spite, she opened Jeff's old iPad. Still worked. Still logged into his Army spouse forums, his VFW group chats, the Facebook thread called Semper Fight. She scrolled through the posts, pictures of prosthetic limbs with barbed wire tattoos, GoFundMe links for housing, screenshots of VA denials, widows sharing screenshots of their dead husband's final texts. One woman posted, "He's been gone 3 years and my 4-year-old still says goodnight to his urn." That cracked something. It wasn't anger anymore, it was grief clawing up her spine like a feral animal. Grief with purpose, grief with teeth. She clicked into one thread, an old post Jeff had made before deployment. "If they ever forget us, remind them loud." That was Jeff. Quiet guy, Navy medic, blue-collar poet. Died saving 3 others from a roadside bomb in Alcut. The medal came in a velvet box. So did the flag. And now that same company was joking about firing his brothers-in-arms for being bad for optics? No more smiling through it. No more PR-approved head tilts and silence. Lena wasn't some hollow-eyed intern clinging to her 401k. She was the damn architect of their image. She knew every shortcut, every blind spot, every time the chairman skipped a vet-focused fundraiser to go wine tasting with lobbyists. She had the receipts, all of them. She stood up, barefoot on cold tile, and walked to her office, switched on the desk lamp, pulled open the drawer with the manila folders she never threw out, old internal videos, gala speeches, D&I reports with inflated numbers she'd beautified. She opened her company laptop. Password, Widow Not Week 1. And she opened a blank document and typed a headline, a tribute to the ones they'd rather forget. The cursor blinked. She stared at it, let herself cry just for a minute, just long enough to feel Jeff's hand on her back like he used to when the migraines came, and then she wiped her face, sipped her bourbon, and clicked save. The plan hadn't formed yet, but the war had begun. By morning, Lena wasn't tired, she was electric. Sleep was for civilians. This was a tactical op now, and she'd run on coffee and cortisol if she had to. She had her hair pulled back, glasses smudged, and a post-it stuck to her monitor that read, "Truth, not drama." That was Jeff's motto when they'd argue about ethics in media, back when he still had a heartbeat and Lena still believed in mutual respect. The first mission was digital forensics. Her Gmail archive went back 14 years, every forwarded speech, every link to YouTube highlight reels, every JPEG of the chairman grinning beside a flag-draped banner that read, "We hire heroes." It took 10 minutes to find the 2016 Veteran Appreciation Banquet reel, the one where the chairman, back when he still had real hair, waxed poetic about the honor, the grit, the sacrifice of our veteran employees. He actually said, "Veterans are the backbone of this company. Without them, it'd be just another tech shop with a flashy logo." Oh, the irony. She clipped the quote, trimmed the footage, and saved the file with the label, "Backbone Live Final Mauve." Next step, cover fire. Lena wasn't going to charge the front gates screaming. No, this was asymmetric warfare, a whisper in the right ears. A dagger slipped between press releases. She logged into the company's internal philanthropy platform, where mid-level managers and board execs posted tax-deductible donation links for brownie points. It was a neglected corner of the company intranet, monitored only by an overworked intern in comms and the occasional overzealous CSR director. Lena had admin access from a project she managed 3 years ago, and it still worked. She opened a new campaign, named it Operation Valor, Veteran Support Initiative. The banner image, a solemn black and white photo of boots lined under a folded flag. Caption underneath, "Some fought with weapons, some fought with dignity, all deserve more than a punchline." The body copy, a love letter disguised as a fundraiser. No direct quotes, no names, just careful references to recent leadership commentary, to the corporate tendency to honor veterans when convenient, and to the need for real support, not performative patriotism. Then came the video. Lena embedded the chairman's praise speech front and center. The good one, the lie. It was bait, sweet, palatable, and perfectly contrasting what he'd said at the gala. Next to it, she placed a donate button, linked directly to a VA-affiliated fund she'd worked with during Jeff's funeral years ago. But the final touch, the landmine, was a discreet footer. This project is unaffiliated with any political cause or formal initiative. It is simply a reminder, we are watching, we remember, and we're not laughing. She hit save as draft, reviewed it, tight, clean, untraceable. Then she opened Slack, popped into a quiet channel used by legacy team leads, mostly forgotten veterans of past reorgs, people who knew what the company used to be. She typed, "Hey folks, working on a quiet little tribute. Would love some eyes on this before it goes up. Just trying to get some support for the ones corporate forgot." Attached the draft link. Then she closed her laptop and waited, not for panic but for ripples. Lena wasn't aiming for a fire. She was planting a fault line, and when it cracked, the tremor would feel righteous. Lena waited 3 hours, nothing, no Slack replies, no feedback. Just the usual office noise, calendar invites, tone-deaf gifs, company-wide memo about the success of the golf gala, complete with photos where the chairman looked like a grinning hemorrhoid in plaid. By lunch, she stopped pretending to work. Opened the tribute draft again, reread every sentence. Still clean, still safe, still venom disguised as compassion. That was the point. It wasn't loud, it was true. Subtle as a funeral hymn, sharp as folded steel. She decided it was time to breach the perimeter. Lena logged into her old support group account, Military Spouse Strong 78. No last name, no work affiliation. Just the same handle she used when Jeff was deployed, and she was still learning how to breathe through news updates without vomiting. She posted the link with a single sentence. "Not sure who needs this, but I thought it might be needed after this weekend." Blackheart. Then she added a second post to a private Facebook group for veteran spouses in corporate, saw something gross at a work event. "Instead of screaming into the void, I made this. It's not perfect, but maybe it says what we're all thinking." She clicked send, then muted her notifications. Didn't want to watch, didn't want to hope. That wasn't the point, but by 4:22 p.m., she got a ping, not from Facebook, not from Slack, from her personal Gmail. A name popped up, Eddie from Legal. Technically Edwin Morales-esque, but no one called him that. He was an ex-Marine who wore his veteran status quietly like a scar you don't point to. 2 tours in Kandahar, joined the company 7 years ago. Never once showed emotion in a meeting, but Lena had seen his hands tremble once during a Memorial Day slideshow. Subject line, saw it, respect. No text, just that. Screenshot, a repost of her campaign link on a burner Reddit account, shared under r/veterans in tech. Caption, look at how they talk when they think no one's listening. She stared at it, heart slow, mind fast, something was happening. 2 hours later, another ping. This one from her LinkedIn inbox, a message from a woman named Claudia Bell, former PR client from Lena's government contract days. Now a mid-tier editor for a conservative military news site, the kind of place that posted side-by-sides of VA scandals and wounded vet fundraisers. Hey Lena, someone just forwarded this tribute page. It's powerful, very calm before the storm. You behind it, off the record. Lena didn't respond, just hit thumbs up. By that evening, Operation Valor had its first 3,000 views, donations ticking up slowly. Comments like, this is what integrity looks like. My dad's on one of those corporate fat trim lists. Thank you, they say they value vets, this says otherwise. The most liked one just said, not your punchline. And then she saw it, on Twitter. A screenshot of the campaign page posted by an account called it Jarhead Journalist, captioned, Corporate America, where they'll use your medals as decoration, then mock your PTSD behind closed doors. It had 900 likes in 10 minutes. Lena sat back, breathed in. The house was quiet again. Different kind of quiet. Not grief, not rage. It was possibility. A current beneath her floorboards. She didn't celebrate, didn't drink. Just watch the analytics tick up on the tribute site like rainfall on a roof, steady, unnoticed until you realize the whole basement's flooding. She wasn't sure it would catch fire, but it was definitely starting to smoke. Sunday morning started with Lena watering her peace lily and ended with Fox Nation pushing her tribute site on a Chiron beneath a furious ex-Marine with perfect hair screaming about moral bankruptcy in corporate leadership. She didn't plan for that. Didn't plan for the nationally syndicated outrage machine to pick it up. But apparently, someone in the radio booth had a brother who worked for the company and saw the page. By 8:13 a.m., Monday, top trending hashtag in the Mid-Atlantic region was #NotYourPunchline. By 9 o'clock, it had company, #fire the chairman. At 9:04, the tribute page crashed from traffic. Lena sat on the edge of her couch, laptop open, bare feet bouncing on the hardwood like a drummer in a panic attack. Her coffee went cold while she scrolled through thousands, literally thousands, of shares, reposts, outraged quote tweets. People weren't just angry. They were surgical. One had clipped the Gala audio. Not just her video, no, someone else had gotten it too. Different angle, clearer mic. Chairman's voice, slurred and smug, echoing, what's the point of honoring vets if they can't keep up with the pace of TikTok? That clip, 400K views on Twitter within 3 hours. Another one, a TikTok edit with dramatic music overlaying his dumb smirk, and the caption their sacrifice deserves more than this, was at 900K. Comments were a war zone. My uncle's a double amputee, this dude can choke. Wow, glad my tax dollars helped this clown get rich. Hire heroes, y'all just fire them quietly now. She watched in silence, jaw slack, breath shallow. This wasn't a spark anymore. This was napalm. Her inbox exploded. The press wanted quotes. Veteran advocacy groups wanted statements. A journalist from Stars and Stripes asked for an interview. She said nothing, wrote nothing, just watched. Then came the donations. $5, $10, one for $250 with a message in honor of Sergeant Mike P., used and tossed like office furniture. Another to my dad who died thinking his job mattered. It was like a memorial wall made out of rage and receipts. And then, right around 10:15 a.m., Lena's work phone rang. Caller ID, comms director urgent. She didn't answer. By noon, she got the mass email from corporate PR, subject line. Clarifying recent misunderstandings around company culture, the body was a word salad of denial. While we cannot comment on private events, we stand firmly behind our commitment to veterans. Audio may have been taken out of context. We are investigating the origins of certain social media campaigns. Lena read it 3 times, sipped her lukewarm coffee, and pulled out a sticky note and wrote, investigate this, underlined it, tacked it to her bulletin board. What struck her most wasn't the chaos, but how little effort it took. A weekend, one website, a lie next to the truth, a push, she hadn't screamed. She hadn't leaked internal files. She hadn't even called the chairman out by name. She just let his own words speak. Paired them with the image of a folded flag. Now he was one viral tweet away from becoming a case study in corporate decay. Her phone buzzed again, text from Claudia Bell. Girl, he's toast. You need to be ready. People are asking who's behind it. She didn't reply. Instead, Lena opened her browser and typed a name she hadn't thought about in years, Colonel Wyatt March. Her late husband's CO, now retired. Board member of a large, no-nonsense veteran foundation. She typed a short message. Sir, I may have something to show you, off record. Respectfully, Lena Weaver, Jeff's wife. Then she sent it, and she smiled, small, sharp, not because she'd won, not yet, but because the battlefield was finally visible, and everyone had seen the first shot. Monday afternoon felt like watching a clown car crash into a church, equal parts hilarious and horrifying. Lena hadn't even changed out of her threadbare Ohio State hoodie when her company inbox flooded with red flag subject lines. Urgent, comms support needed, reputation incident, high-level escalation, requesting response plan drafts. By 2 o'clock p.m., she was triple booked on Zooms. People were scrambling like someone had shouted active shooter in the corporate cafeteria. Slack was a mess, panicked DMs from junior comms reps, legal begging for controlled messaging, and one sad soul asking if they should maybe pivot to highlighting our diverse intern program instead. At 2:17 p.m., she got the ping, an invite from the SVP of Communications. Emergency huddle, no agenda, just fear. Lena lit a fresh candle, smoothed her hair back, and clicked join. 7 boxes, all muted. Then, Lena, hey, can you jump in here? It was Laura from PR, eyes bloodshot, voice shaky. Looked like she'd just been waterboarded with Monster Energy and bad news. We're drafting a response. But you've got the deepest VetComms background of any of us. Can you help us get ahead of this? I mean, people are calling for his resignation. And someone clearly edited that tribute page with company assets. Do you know who posted it? Lena smiled, tilted her head like a confused preschool teacher. Oh, the one everyone's calling a masterclass in subtle revenge. That one? Dead silence. Then, cooler than she had any right to sound, she added, well, I suppose the real question is who thought mocking veterans was funny to begin with. That's probably where you'll want to start. She took a long sip of her coffee and watched Laura's pupils dilate like she'd been slapped with a ghost. We just need to get in front of this, someone else added, Nick from legal, whose voice cracked mid-sentence like a teenage boy trying to plead the fifth. Do you think we should, I don't know, push some of the chairman's past pro-vet speeches? Try to balance the narrative? Balance? Lena said, blinking slow, you're not launching a mattress ad. You're reacting to a man publicly comparing combat veterans to expired software. There's no balance for that. Another silence. She offered a tight smile and clicked leave meeting. They didn't ping her again. Instead, she got CC'd on threads with subject lines like reputation salvage strategy and exploring chairman leave options. One even included the phrase optics triage, which Lena screenshotted and sent to Claudia Bell with the caption, they're trying to put a band-aid on a corpse. At 4:07 p.m., she got a call from a mid-level marketing manager. She didn't recognize the number. Hey, Lena, just wondering, off the record, was that you? Like the tribute thing? She paused. Was what me? You know, Operation Valor. Oh, I've heard of it, she said, voice honeyed. Sounds powerful. Right? The voice said, deflating. Yeah, totally, just curious. No judgment. She hung up. And then she did what only someone who had worked in corporate comms long enough truly knows how to do. She opened a blank Word doc and titled it, List of Executives Who Reposted the Tribute Page Before the Crisis Broke. She already had 5. By the time the sun set, she'd collected a small pile of receipts, not damning on their own, but useful. Insurance. In case someone in HR got bold. In case someone decided Lena was suddenly a compliance issue or a morale risk. She knew the playbook, she wrote the playbook, and now she held it like a dagger behind her back. Vindication burned in her chest like whiskey. Sweet, slow, and dangerous. But she didn't gloat, didn't celebrate, just kept walking that tightrope between plausible deniability and poetic justice, because the house of cards was still standing, and she wasn't done breathing on it yet. By Tuesday morning, Lena had gone from ghostwriter to ghost. She didn't show up to the office, didn't log into Slack. Her Outlook status stayed red away, and no one had the guts to ping her directly. Which was fine. She had more important things to do than babysit a corporate inferno. She was in her home office, lights off, blinds down, sipping lukewarm black coffee with a USB drive in one hand and a burner Gmail tab open on her screen. The drive was small, plain, and unmarked, except for the tiny red dot of nail polish she'd used to mark the kill switch file. HR archives from 2014 to 2018. A folder she'd quietly duplicated during a system migration back, when she still believed backup meant safety, not ammunition. Inside that folder, the real rot, 3 internal termination memos, all stamped confidential, all involving disabled veteran employees let go due to declining performance. Lena remembered every case. One guy had a prosthetic leg that slowed his warehouse times by 15 seconds. Another took a day off for a VA appointment and got slapped with an attendance warning. The third, a retired Marine who failed a new software certification, not because he couldn't do it, but because the test wasn't ADA compliant. Each memo had the same signature, Chairman Gerald S. Kane Cold, legal, brutal, and each followed the same pattern. While we appreciate the employee's past service, the demands of our evolving workforce require agile adaptation. That phrase again, agile adaptation, Lena had red-penned it herself years ago during a brand refresh. Now it read like a knife in uniform. She didn't hesitate. She attached the 3 PDFs. Added a screenshot of the chairman's Gala toast for good measure. And then, with surgical calm, she addressed it to a private Proton Mail account, Valor Shadow Tips at ProtonMe, run by a freelance journalist named Talia Monroe. Lena had met her once during a PR crisis back in 2019. Young, sharp, half punk, half sniper, and allergic to corporate BS. Talia had once told Lena, the truth is never polite, it kicks down doors. Lena wrote only 2 sentences. He was trimming the fat long before the toast. 3 of them wore uniforms. Let's remind them what overhead looks like. She clicked send. Then she closed the tab, leaned back in her chair, and stared at the ceiling. No music, no emails, no screens. just the low hum of vengeance turning to something deeper, justice, maybe, or reparation. By Wednesday morning, it dropped. Headline: When Valor Becomes Overhead Byline. Talia Monroe, independent investigative journalist. The expose was a scalpel, cold, clean, lethal. It laid out a timeline, it named names. It connected the chairman's gala toast to a years-long pattern of quietly purging disabled vets under the guise of workforce optimization. The quotes were real. The memos were real. The receipts ironclad. The article opened with, "They draped him in flags at banquets." Then, behind closed doors, they called him a burden. By noon, LinkedIn was a minefield, executives untagging themselves. Company recruiters ghosted. One employee posted a thread titled, "I spent 12 years building this brand, today I'm ashamed." But the best part? The comments section under the article. "My brother was employee #2. I didn't know, I do now. Sent this to my congressman. You can't optimize honor." Lena didn't comment, didn't like, didn't share. She printed the article, folded it into thirds, and slid it into a plastic sleeve. Then she walked to the spare bedroom, the one with Jeff's medals still framed above the bookshelf. She tucked the sleeve behind his Purple Heart. "See it, babe," she whispered. "They finally see it." No tears this time, just that cold, clean satisfaction. This wasn't about ego anymore. This was about making the rot visible, and then twisting the knife until the whole thing bled out. By Thursday, Lena's name was missing from the internal directory. Not officially, no HR ticket filed, no resignation letter sent, but functionally, she'd ghosted. No LinkedIn updates, no calendar invites accepted, no optional town halls attended. Her Outlook profile sat grayed out like a tombstone, and nobody dared type her name in the all-hands chat unless they wanted to trigger a nervous breakdown from legal. She didn't need to be loud. The avalanche was already in motion. She just poured herself a cup of chamomile, turned off notifications, and quietly removed herself from every upcoming event on the corporate calendar. Q3 Impact Summit, Veteran Appreciation Luncheon. Oh, the irony, even the team offsite bowling night she used to organize with military precision. One by one, like disarming tripwires. By mid-morning, first headline landed. Top defense contractor faces internal review over anti-veteran culture. 3 hours later, the money spoke. Major donors, Rayner Trust, Carter Lincoln Foundation, and the very VFW alumni fund that once funded the company's military hiring campaign, suspended contributions. Official reason: pending leadership realignment and organizational values audit. Translation: get rid of the chairman or we get rid of our checks. Lena didn't cheer, didn't gloat. She just folded her laptop closed and let the silence wash over her like a warm current. It felt earned. At 2:22 p.m., her old friend in operations, Maria, who once helped Lena rework the company's D&I pitch deck to actually reflect reality, forwarded a leak from a private board email chain. Emergency executive session scheduled Friday 10 a.m. All directors present. Legal advisory confirmed. Personnel implications likely. Maria didn't add anything. She didn't need to. The word personnel was code for scalp. Rumors exploded across private chats. The chairman hadn't been seen on Slack since Tuesday. His assistant was canceling meetings with unspecified travel illness. Some said he was prepping a resignation speech. Others said he was lawyering up. One intern swore they saw him crying in his Bentley in the parking garage, head pressed against the wheel like a man trying to make peace with his own obituary. Meanwhile, Lena sat cross-legged on her couch, sipping a lemon LaCroix and reading Dismantling Corporate Mythologies by candlelight. The storm could rage all it wanted. She'd already boarded up her windows. A few people texted to ask if she was okay. One mid-level VP even sent a thinly veiled plea. "If you did have anything to do with all this, just know it's shaken things up. In a good way, the right way." Lena replied with a thumbs-up emoji, nothing else, because truth be told, she wasn't interested in their absolution. This wasn't about being seen or thanked. This was about removal, like cutting a tumor from bone. She closed the last of her Google Docs, archived all her personal backups, took down the original tribute page and replaced it with one final message. This initiative has completed its mission. Thank you for reminding them what valor looks like. No signature, no logo, just silence, the calm before the final impact. She lit a candle, walked outside, and stared up at the wide Midwestern sky. The breeze was cool. The clouds hung low, heavy with something that hadn't broken yet. But she could feel it coming. The fall always comes quietly, until it doesn't. It broke on Monday at 9:01 a.m., exactly 1 minute after the stock bell rang, and the board had enough plausible deniability to pretend they'd carefully considered all options. Chairman Gerald S. Kane announces retirement, citing health and family priorities. The press release was a perfect piece of sanitized fiction. No mention of the leaked audio, no nod to the expose, just a hollow string of words like legacy, transition, deep appreciation. The quote they pulled from him read like something spat out of a HR chatbot. "It's been an honor to lead a company at the forefront of innovation and integrity." Lena didn't laugh, didn't scoff. She just closed the tab, finished buttering her toast, and let the symphony of cowardice play itself out without interruption. By noon, her email pinged. Subject, we'd like to talk next steps, big things coming. The body was short, flattering, full of that specific breed of corporate humility that only shows up when they realize you have the high ground and the receipts. Lena, with recent changes in leadership, the board recognizes your immense value, especially in light of your long-standing dedication to our Veterans Initiative. We'd like to formally offer you a VP role, comms, strategic direction. Whatever you feel is right, she stared at the message like it was a raccoon, offering her a bouquet of roses after biting her ankles. Then she hit delete. 3 hours later, she signed her contract with ValorLink, a major veteran nonprofit focused on policy reform and advocacy. Full benefits, remote first, 5-year roadmap that actually meant something. The offer came with two familiar names attached, Douglas Klein and Associates, and Sigma Shell Defense Systems, former clients of her old company, now listed as ValorLink sponsors. Lena didn't smile, she didn't need to. The quiet felt better than applause. They'd tried to buy her silence with a title. But she already had something better than rank. She had clarity. That evening, while the company scrambled to scrub his name off leadership bios and LinkedIn profiles, Lena logged into the original Operation Valor backend. The site still had over 900,000 hits. She'd taken it down days ago, but tonight she brought it back. Simple, stripped, one page, no links, no donate button. Just a header, a single quote, and her name at the bottom. If they forget us, remind them loud. Jeff Weaver, third deployment email, March 2011, no fanfare. No branding, just truth. She closed her laptop, stepped outside. The sky was pinking with dusk, birds low on the wires, summer heat melting into memory. She lit a stick of sandalwood incense. Not for peace, not for reflection, but because it's what Jeff used to burn when he needed to think straight. She'd done what needed to be done. No headlines, no press tour, no smirk on cable news, just a reckoning. And when it was all said and done, the loudest voice in the room was the one that finally went quiet. Thanks for watching, you cubicle warriors. Hit that subscribe button. Unless you're my old boss, then you're on your own. Revenge of the Coffee Pot strikes again.